today we are starting our new chapter on slope. So today we're focusing on slope from a graph and then a table, which is on the back side. So the top part of the notes here, we have 4 different types of lines that you'll see. So the first one here, we say it's uphill. So if I drew a little man on the line, he's climbing up the hill. So if you're going up, that's towards the positive, so that's a positive slope. If I drew a little man on my hill, he's climbing down the hill. So we say, okay, that would be negative. He's going down. Horizontal, that's like if I'm walking across the floor. If I'm walking on the classroom floor, wherever you are, it's straight and it's saying, okay, that slope is 0. Then last one here is this vertical line. So if I try to draw a little guy walking on this line, that would be like you walking on a wall. That is not possible. So we have this special word for that. We call it undefined. So I'm going to add here for your uphill slope, that positive one. We could also say that's increasing. And if you're going downhill, then that would be decreasing. So you can think of that, downhill, decreasing. Okay, then on the right here, we have slope is equal to the rate of change. Those are synonyms. Those are the same thing. So if I asked you to say, okay, find the rate of change, that's the same thing as finding the slope. We talk about slope as rise over run. That's probably bringing back some memories from last year in your math classes. So now in high school, we're also going to say a different way. We're going to say, okay, rise, that's the same thing as the change in y over the change in x. This wording here is helpful for our table problems on the back side of these notes. So we'll get to those in just a minute. We have 4 graphs down below that we're going to find the slope of. This first graph here, we have 2 points. You're always starting with the point that's the most left on the graph. So that's this guy right here. So I have my rise over my run. So I'm starting at this point and seeing how many lines I have to go up to be even with this point. So I'm going up 2 lines. So up, that would be positive. So positive 2. And then I need to see how much I'm running. Running would be your left and right. So I'm going right, 1, 2, 3. That would also be positive because I'm going to the right. So just a reminder here, we have right is positive, up is positive, left is negative, down is negative. Okay, so I need to write my answer with this fancy M. So fancy M stands for slope. Remember, math people are weird. We like short symbols that have nothing to do with the word slope. So it's this cursive M equals 2 over 3. Leave your answers as fractions. Don't change them to decimals. We don't want any decimals. Okay, let's try number 2 here then. I'm going to start on my left point. I'm going to count down how many lines until I get to this point on the right. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my rise, I went down 6, so that's a negative 6. Then I'm right here. 1, 2. Okay, so I need to run over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went right 6, that's a positive. If you can reduce negative 6 over 6, do that. So I divide that out, that should be negative 1, and that is equal to your slope. Okay, then number 3, this is that horizontal line. So you're probably looking up at the top of your notes and thinking, oh, I already know what that slope is. But let me show you if you forgot. What do you do if you forget? Okay, so if I pick 2 points on the line, I just picked randomly, I'm rising none. I actually am not rising at all. So I'm going to put a 0 there. I'm running over 1, 2, 3. So any time you divide 0 by a number, you're always going to get 0. Okay, so that's how I'm getting this slope is equal to 0. with the rise over run method. Then for number 4, we have this vertical line. So let me again just pick 2 random points. Okay, so I'm rising. Let's say I'm going down 3. I'm not running at all. So anytime you divide by 0, in your calculator, it's going to say something like this: error, domain error, something like that. That means it's not possible. Okay, you are not allowed to divide by 0 ever. So we have this fancy word for slope. When this happens, we use the word undefined. So that's what you're going to write out. So your slope is undefined. Okay, let's flip it over then to the back side. Let's look at some tables. Top part here, it says rate of change. That's the same thing as slope. So we said, okay, change in the y variable over the change in the x. So I'm going to show you this symbol. This triangle means change in y over change in x. Again, remember, math people, we like symbols, so we don't have to write out all those words all the time. So you may see that in future math classes as well. Let's do number 9 here with this table. It says, okay, distance a band marches over time. Find the rate of change between one row of the table to the next. So you're going to draw these little arrows between each row. We need to see how much it's increasing or decreasing by each time. So to go from 1 to 2, I'm adding 1. 2 to 3, I'm adding 1. 3 to 4, I'm adding 1. Okay, so then I need to figure out, okay, what am I changing by on this right side? So I can do 520 minus 260 to see how much I'm increasing by. That turns out to be 260. Do the same thing for this next row. I'll subtract 780 minus 520. And then I'll do 1040 minus 780. Okay, so on this side here, that's my change in y, because the right column of the table is y, the left column is x. We know that. We've seen tables before. So this is the change in x. It's asking us, is it the same for all pairs of rows? Yeah. All of these changes in x's are 1. All the changes in y's are 260. So let's find our slope. Okay, so my change in y, that's 260 over my change in x. That's 1. You can leave it like this, or you can just write it 260. Your choice. Then it says, what does it represent? So this 260, that goes with distance. 1 goes with time. So the band marches 260 feet per minute. So that's that representation statement. We did that in the last test as well, explaining what these problems are talking about. All right, let's scroll down here. Let's do number 12. Here they're telling us, okay, weeks and cost. This top row is always X. The bottom row is always Y. So this table is just sideways. No big deal. It's just formatted differently. So I'm going to draw my arrows above and below. So to go from 3 to 6, I'm increasing by 3 each time here. Then the bottom, I'm increasing by 90 each time. So when I find the slope, I need my change in y over my change in x. Change in y is the bottom number of this table. Okay, so I have 90 and then over my change in x, which is 3. Let's simplify that. We get 30. Then we have to explain what this stands for. So if you want to write 30 over 1, that's fine, because we're talking about 30 is my y, that's my cost, and then per 1 week. So my explanation would be $30 for every week or per 1 week. So that's what it represents. Okay, so that's it for today for the slope from graphs and tables. Make sure you're finishing up your classwork and turning that into your teacher.